Hello, this is Edgar with the Eye of the Serpent channel, and I wanted to talk a little bit about the progress of my Mesoamerican calendar application. And so I wanted to show where it is in terms of the organization of the sacred figures that I planned to display as part of the overall calculation for the date and its Mesoamerican correspondence. This version is using the Nahuatl, specifically using Mexica images, such as from the Codex Borbonicus and the Codex Telluriado-Romensis, and so on. And this is using the Alfonso Caso correspondence. And I will provide options so that you could use one or two others if that would be your preference. This is for April 4th, 2025, and this is 6 Masat, or deer, to use the Nahuatl equivalents. And I wanted to show one of the most important things that, and I think unique aspects of my version of the Mesoamerican calendar calculator, is that it not only provides or lists out the sacred figures, the Teotl that are associated with the sign, but also how they would have been stratified, how they would have been organized in the reckoning of the Mexica cosmos. So here we have three basic levels, and they correspond to different aspects of the sacred calendar. So the sixth day in the 13-day cycle in which this date is situated, is governed by Mictlantecuhtli, the god in the underworld, the god of death, or the Teotl of death. And he is in Mictlan, the land of the dead. And so what I also need to do here, this needs a little bit more work, but right now I have at least indication that he is in the sixth house of the 13 within the full 13-day cycle that begins with one wind, one Ekat, which is overall governed by Chantico, who is the goddess or the Teotl of the hearth. The three stones, the Tenamastli, that you often find in traditional villages in the kitchen space, where the three stones surround a pit of fire where much of the cooking takes place. So this is a place of transformation, a place of creation. That is the sacred significance of the hearth. And Chantico is the Teotl associated with the hearth within the kitchen space. And she oversees the entire 13-day period, beginning with the sign of one wind. And the sixth day within this 13-day count is governed by Mictlantecuhtli. And I know some people are probably going to criticize me on the way I'm pronouncing Tecuhtli, but I plan to have a separate video on why I choose to pronounce it that way. And I'm kind of losing my voice. I think there's some pollen in the air, so you'll please excuse the raspiness I have. Another important thing that I wanted to discuss is that this is not his only attribute or presence within this particular tonali date, because he is not only the sixth Lord of Day, but he is also the fifth Lord of Night. And I need to concatenate. I need to add the fifth night underneath. This is a task for a future phase in this development progress. So he is both the sixth Night Lord and the fifth Night Lord and the sixth Day Lord. And so that's why he appears here just once, because once is enough. And what I'm going to do is also list out fifth night underneath where it says here sixth day. The last aspect is Tlaloc, who is the patron of the day sign of deer itself. So this is in the underground, so kind of underneath the surface of the earth, but also higher above Mictlan. So Tlalocan would be the realm of Tlaloc. So I wanted to give a kind of stratigraphy showing the organization of these various sacred beings in the different levels of the cosmos. In other days, they could be in the heavens. They could be like in the sky, such as the sun and the moon, or in the highest level, such as the realm of creation. But for today, we have three levels of the earth and beneath. So we have the surface of the earth, Chantico, the patron of the 13-day cycle associated with the Tenamastli, the hearth at the level of the surface of the earth. And then the level beneath, one of the levels beneath it in Tlalocan is Tlaloc, who is the patron of the day sign of deer. And lastly, the sixth day in the 13-day calendar, as well as the fifth of the 9 nights, both of which intersect with Mictlantecuhtli, who is in the lowest level. So I wanted to give this kind of stratigraphy to show how these would have been conceptualized in their organization in the different levels of space and time in the Mesoamerican cosmos, specifically again from the Mexica rendering, because that's where these images and the language are coming from. And so part of the inspiration for this was looking at many of the sacred offerings, the caches, the deposits that were left in the sacred temple, the Teocalli of Tenochtitlan. If you go to the museum of, next to the Way Teocalli, the great temple of Tenochtitlan, the site museum has a number of reproductions, replicas of the caches, the ritual deposits that were buried or interred in various places around the temple. And many of these could be seen as a microcosm. They represented different aspects. They contained symbols of things from the underworld, from the sea, from the surface of the earth, and from the sky. And these were all composed, or they were all deposited together to present a kind of representation of the totality and the unity of the various levels of the heavens, the earth, and the underworld, the realms of above, here, and below. And so what I wanted to do with this calendar application is reflect that organization, that kind of conceptualizing of the different levels of the cosmos and the different figures, the beings that occupy these different levels. So this is where I am. My next phase is going to be a calculator. So I know many of you will be interested in discovering your sign through for your birthday. And so what I'm going to do next is provide a form so that you could enter the day, the month, and the year, and then hit the submit button, and this will all be flipped out so that you can see your own sign. I'm going to pause here and I'll come back to it so I can show you another interesting part of the way that I've arranged the figures for this chart. So I'm going to fast forward to Monday, April 7th, so you can see another interesting part of how I have laid out the figures for this for this display. All right, you can see that I have fast forwarded to Monday, April 7th, 2025, which is 9 Eats Quintly in the Alfonso Caso correspondence. And you can see that Chantico remains the presiding figure over the 13-day count from 1 Wind until 13 Jaguar. And so she remains constant here. Mictlantecuhtli is back, but in this time, because he is the patron of the day sign of Dog, although he still remains the 6th Lord of Day, the 5th Lord of Night, those have all shifted, as well as the day sign itself. So he's back, but now as the patron of the day sign of Dog. And the 9th day, the 9th house of the 13, is governed by Quetzalcoatl, who is in the elemental realm. And that's something that I kind of made up for consistency. But the others were very familiar to the Mexica reckoning of the cosmos. The Tlali, the surface of the earth, and Mictlan, the land of the dead. And lastly, we see the 8th night, the 8th of the 9 nights that were also an important cycle in the Mesoamerican understanding of the ritual calendar. So this is what's interesting about this is that I've also been finally figured out how to stack 2 or more figures in the same level. And so that's going to add a more dynamic aspect to the overall display of the Teotl, the spiritual, the sacred figures that are associated with the different aspects that converge upon this particular space-time moment. So we have the Day of Dog with Mictlantecuhtli, the 9th day with Quetzalcoatl, the 13-day cycle with Chantico, and the 8th of the 9
nights with Teotl, the patron, the spirit of animals and the wilderness, the heart of the mountain. So this is where I am with the calendar. And as I said, I will plan to dedicate the next phase to a calculating form, so that if you wanted to enter your own birthday sign, or you wanted to learn the sign of your birthday or another date that's important to you, I will provide a form here so that you could enter that and learn more about the workings of the calendar. So I look forward to sharing those details in the next phase for this progress report of the My Mesoamerican Calendar app. So thank you for watching, and good roads.